Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Yes, I did it, ladies and gentlemen. I committed the ultimate sin of baking. I purchased a bread maker. But let me tell you why. So you all remember every time I tell you during the summer months that I buy my bread at the store because I'm a lot busier during those months working outside, that I really don't have the time to be kneading bread and making bread indoors. And also, of course, it's a little warmer during the summer. And I don't like to use my oven as much during the summer than in the winter times. So I figured, since this was on sale, actually at a very good price. This is a Cuisinart, and it was $69. It was on sale for like $30 off or so. So I think that was a pretty good price. I figured, you know what? Let me pick one of these up, mainly for the summer times. But I thought that I'd use it and review it with you guys. That way you guys can see how easy it is to make bread. And even if you don't want to make bread by hand, this is still a money saver. Even after a $69 investment on this machine, probably after about 20 or 30 loaves of bread, you will have already saved enough money as opposed to buying it at the store by making it yourself. So I think this is a good investment. Of course, it's electric, but one thing that I like about it is that it's only about 550 watts. So it really doesn't use a lot of electricity. So what I want to do today is, if you all remember the video that I did yesterday, where I was grinding that whole wheat with my new grain mill, I'm going to use some of that wheat to make a whole wheat loaf. However, I do have a recipe that came from the book that came with this machine, and it also uses a little bit of regular all-purpose flour. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you really quick how easy this machine is to use, and then we're going to go ahead and add our ingredients into the pot in there and start making the bread, see how it turns out. Okay, so I just plugged the machine in, and as you can see, it has 4 buttons. It has a programming button, and up here you have a choice of 12 different settings. The first one, for example, is for white bread, then French, then whole wheat. So we're going to be using setting number 3 to make our whole wheat bread. The next one is color. It has 3 color settings. The first one is if you don't want any brown on your bread, you know how long it cooks. The second one is if you want a little bit of brown, and the third one is if you want it really dark. We're going to go ahead and stick with number 1 for this whole wheat bread that we're going to make. The next one is to choose the size. You can choose to make a 1.5 pound loaf, a 2 pound loaf, or a 2.5 pound loaf. And today we're only going to make a 1.5 pound loaf bread. And then the start stop button. So all we have to do is press start. And as you can see, it automatically defaults to the first setting. But we're going to go ahead and hit our program button. And you can see that right there it defaults to number 3, which is whole wheat. And it automatically defaults to the 1.5 pound setting. The next things that we have to do is very simple. All we have to do is put all of our ingredients inside the pot and then start it, and it will commence the process of doing everything that needs to be done to the bread as far as making it into a dough and cooking it and everything for you to be done. Now, once we open the top, we have our pot. I call it a pot or pan, whatever you want to call it. It has a little handle here that you can pull it out with. Now, in order to pull it out, you have to give it a 1/4 of a twist, and then it pulls right out. So as you can see, the pot, the inside has a non-stick coating, so there's really no oil required. However, I still put a little bit of oil on there just to be on the safe side. There's also a kneading paddle that you have to insert inside before you start adding your ingredients, and it's as easy as just putting it in here and letting it lock in place. Let me show you how that works. Now, as you can see, there's a little peg down there with one side that is flat, and you can see that your paddle has a flat side as well. All you do is put it in there. And as you can see, it went in there nice and straight. Now we're ready to add our ingredients to this. One of the things that I like about this is that it comes with a really nice recipe book, and it tells you the ingredients that you have to use and the portions of many different types of breads. And one thing to remember is that this tells you to make sure that to add the ingredients in the order that they're in right here. So since we're making a 1.5 pound loaf, these are the ingredients that I'm going to add. Now the first ingredient is going to be 1 cup of water at room temperature, which kind of makes me a little nervous because 1 cup of water doesn't seem like a lot. The next thing that we're going to add is 1 teaspoon of salt. And here's 1 teaspoon of salt. Then 2 tablespoons of butter. And we want to make sure that they're at room temperature. 1.5 tablespoons of sugar. 2 cups of whole wheat flour. And this is that flour that I ground yesterday on yesterday's video. So that's 1 cup. That's 2 cups. 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. And 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast. That's 1, 2, and I would say that's about 1/4 right now. Now all we have to do is put our pan back in there. Make sure that it's seated. As you can see, I can't lift it up now. Close our lid. Hit start. It's still set on number 3, which is our whole wheat. And now all we have to do is hit start one more time and it'll start kneading the bread for the first time. I'm going to open the lid and show you guys what it looks like. I'm still kind of worried that 1 cup of water is just not that much water for 3 cups of flour. But we'll see what happens. As you can see, it's kneading it. Now what's going to happen is once it's done with the first kneading, it's going to beep 5 times, and then you're supposed to just let it rest and it'll do its first rise. Then it'll do its second kneading, and then once it's done with its second kneading, it's going to beep 10 times. And what that will do is it will allow you to take the dough out of there, take the dough hook out, and then you can replace the dough in the pan and then allow it to go rise for the 3rd time, and it'll start actually cooking the bread. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, is a 4-hour process. However, putting the ingredients in it and removing the dough hook after the second kneading is all you really have to do as far as engaging with the actual bread and doing something. So we'll be back when we have to take this dough out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so this just beeped 5 times. And as you can see here, it's on the second kneading. And you see where it says add in. That's in case you wanted to add something to this, like if you wanted to add oats, or if you wanted to add, let's say, raisins or whatever, you can throw it in there now. But what's going to happen now is it's going to continue to knead it until it goes to its second rise. After the second rise, it's going to beep 10 times really quick. That's telling me that I have to take it out of there, take the paddle out, put the dough back in there, and then let it finish its 3rd rise, and then it will continue the baking process and finish. So the only handling of this that you're going to have to do is when you have to take it out so that you can take the paddle out. So we'll be back once it's time to do that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so it just beeped 10 times pretty quickly, and that's telling us that we need to take the dough out so we can take the paddle out and then put the dough back in there and then set it to finish baking. So all we have to do now is just dump out our dough. You can see the paddle in there. Just go in there and take it out. And although the instructions don't say this, as you can see, nothing is stuck to the sides. But I like to put a little bit of oil in there, coat the inside of there with oil before I put the dough back in. So what I'll do real quick is I'll just go ahead and shape this dough real quick. So there you go, I shaped the dough a little bit. Now I'm going to put a little bit of oil on the sides. And then I'm going to put the dough back in and put it back in the machine so that it can finish doing its last rise and then baking. There we go. Now we are done. All we have to do is wait for it to finish rising and baking, and then we'll be back with the finished product. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so the bread just beeped about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes ago. This is what it looks like inside. It actually looks pretty good. But we'll go ahead and get it out of here and go put it on a cooling rack, and we'll see what it looks like. Let's see. Well, it does feel a little dense, but it sounds good. I'm going to let it cool down for a little bit, and then we'll cut into it and see what it looks like and tastes like. Before I go ahead and cut this up, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to mention something really quick. I've heard of a couple of YouTubers actually so far that have gotten ill with the, the bug that's going around. And I haven't mentioned it, and let me tell you why that is. I really don't like to announce other people's private business on YouTube unless they specifically ask me. So that's why I haven't mentioned those people. They have been in my prayers, and I've got good wishes for them in my heart. So that's why you haven't heard me say anything about that. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because one of our community members, Kenneth Spiegel, he has contracted the bug, and he's in the hospital, and he contacted me and asked me to let our community know. He actually said to let our family know, but I know that by our family he meant our community. So that's why I'm bringing it up. So if you could please, have your good wishes for Kenneth and his family in your hearts. Keep him in your prayers if you do so. That'd be great, because he's been with us for a while and he's a great person. I've interacted with him off camera, via email, and he's a great guy. So having said that, I hope that he watches this video all the way through. He says he's got nothing better to do anyways because he's in the hospital. But it seems like he's having kind of a rough time with it. So I'm just praying that he gets better, and I hope that you guys send your prayers as well. Now let's cut into this and see what it looks like. I'm kind of excited to see what it looks like. Well, I think it looks pretty good. I'm very surprised. Look at that. It's still steaming a little bit, but it has a very good texture. I was really kind of afraid of how little water this was asking for, but it really looks good. It doesn't feel dry. It feels nice and moist, and it's got a good sponge to it. Wow, wait, let me cut another slice to see how it feels, because this is the end slice, so this side is kind of hard. So let me cut another slice and see how it feels. And there you go. That's what it looks like. It actually feels pretty good. It actually feels somewhat moist. I am just baffled by that. Let me give it a smell, see what it smells like. And it actually smells really good. I am very surprised. I had a feeling that this bread was going to come out super dense because of the little bit of water that we put in there. But it's actually very nice. Let's put a little bit of butter on this and taste it. And you know what? Before I taste the one with butter on it, I'm going to taste the piece without any butter on it just to see what it tastes like. Well, I have to say that just tastes like a simple wheat bread. Now, I'm sure that this one's going to taste like a simple wheat bread with some delicious butter on it. Let's give it a try. Now, this, ladies and gentlemen, is really good. If you don't like whole wheat bread, I would recommend that you try that recipe because it's not harsh. It doesn't have a strong taste of whole wheat, but you can taste it, but it's really very pleasant. I can see using this to make some grilled cheese sandwiches, and it would be great. And you're getting some fiber out of it because it's got the whole wheat in it. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I think that the bread machine is going to be a winner for the summertime. I do like to make bread by hand. I've been doing it like that for years. I mean, for more than a decade now. However, knowing that in the summer, I usually don't make my own bread because I'm usually outside most of the time working on projects. It's going to be nice to have that bread machine to still be able to have homemade bread without having to spend the money going to the store to get the store-bought bread, and knowing that we can make good bread like this. Now, I'm going to try a regular white bread. They have a recipe in there for a regular white bread as well. I'll try that out, and I'll just let you guys know how it tastes, maybe during our next live stream, which will be the first Sunday of the new year. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so I hope you got something out of this. Thank you very much for joining in. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. This is Alaska Prepper. I'm out.